Okay, you are going to translate today from point slope to slope intercept form of an equation. So you need to know parts, the parts of point slope form. X of 1, y of 1 is the original point. That's the original point you're given. The original. It's the beginning. M is the slope. The slope is second y, take away the first, over second x, take away the first. Slope is always, when we're talking about graphing, it's your rise, what you're going up, and then your run, what you're going over. So slope is the change in y, which is rise, over the change in x, which is your run, like how far are you going over. You need to know for slope intercept, or point slope form, it always looks like this. Y minus y of 1 is equal to m times x minus x of 1. If it is a plus all of a sudden, the only thing that can turn this to plus is if the original point is negative. So if it's plus, the value is going to be a negative. Because the only way this can turn to plus is if I had y minus a negative 2. If I had y minus 2, the point would be 2, because it didn't change. But when I turn to y plus 2, that tells me my y value must have been negative, because it always is minus at first. So if it's minus, that means it didn't need to change. If it's minus, the value is positive. That's the hardest thing for 8th graders to dissect there. Knowing, is the value going to be negative or positive? So your expectation today is to be able to identify the point in the slope. And I'll show you why it's important. A lot of time on the MCA, they'll give you this and say graph the line. It is a hassle to get it in the slope intercept. What I do is I say, okay, what is my original point? What is my slope? That's what I want to find. So you want it to look like this, your point and your slope. So it's y minus 2. It didn't change. So that tells me that my y value is 2. This is x minus 2. It didn't change. It didn't turn to plus. So my x value is 2. And 1/4 is my slope. Now watch how I can easily graph this line. If I was given a coordinate plane, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Given that, I can plot the point 2, 2, right there. And then I can use my slope to find other points. Up 1 over 4. I don't know, it would be somewhere over here. Or down 1 over 4. My line would look like this, going through all the points. So you can graph a line given a point that the line falls on in the slope. It's just rise over run. Up 1 over 4, up 1 over 4, or down 1, the other way 4. So all I have to do, if I were you on an MCA and they said match the graph with an equation that looks like this, I'd say, okay, what's the point that they gave me, just like I did here, what's the slope, and find which one matches it. Okay, next one. Again, all I want to find is my point in the slope. So this turned to plus. The only way that can turn to plus is if the y was negative. So I know that the y is negative 3. I know that because the original should be y minus the y I'm given. And when it turned to plus 3, the only way it can turn to plus is if I minus the negative. Minus 2. So it didn't change, so then that tells me positive 2 is my correct x. And my slope is negative 2 I'm going to put negative 2 over 1 because I still had a lot of students get confused. They think it's negative 2 over 2, and that is not the right slope. And now you can graph it. Everybody should make a rough graph. So my point is 2, negative 3. I'm about right here. And it looks like I go down 2 over 1. So down 2 over 1. Or up 2 over 1. So I'm going to have a line that looks like that. Okay? Okay, graphing equations from point slope. You want it to look like this. A point and the slope. You're working backwards this time. You want a point and a slope. So all we do is we plot the given point and use the slope to find other points. So, working backwards here, I have x is a plus. The only way it can turn to plus would mean my x was a negative at first. And y minus 3, that would mean it would be a positive 3. Okay, now I'm going to, and my slope is negative 2 over 1. Now I plot it. Negative 2, 3. That goes right there. Use my slope. It's going down. Anytime you see negative, you better double check. It should always look like you're going down the hill. Down 2 over 1. Down 2 over 1. Down 2 over 1. I did it. Done. Next one. Same thing, working backwards. I need to find my slope, or my point, and find my slope. So x, this is still minus, so that means it would be positive. Plus 2 means I must have been a negative y. My slope is 1/3. Rise over run. Plot the point, 3, negative 2. X is 3, y is negative 2. And then use my slope. Up 1 over 1, 2, and 3. Up 1 over 1, 2, 3. Or down 1 other way, 3. And that's my beautiful graph. Okay, last part of this lesson. You're gonna translate. You're gonna go from point slope to slope intercept. Okay, pay attention to me. Point slope to slope intercept. The first thing that you're gonna do is plug in a point slope form. Always, first thing. If you're not a big fan from graphing point slope, you can get it into slope intercept. That means get y alone. Y equals mx plus b. Where we're given our slope, write it down, and you're given your y int. Write it down. I see lots of kids not writing it down. So it's actually a pretty natural way. Lots of kids feel like they want a complete point slope form. This is a good way to use it. It's not too bad, but it does apply a lot of algebra. So we want to write an equation in slope intercept. That means y alone. Slope intercept. It has to have your slope first, then your y intercept. Given a point and a slope. So what I do, I go y minus the y I'm given is equal, write it down, to my slope times x minus the x I'm given. That's point slope. I use point slope because I was given my point and I was given a slope. So that told me I needed to use point slope. The equation will be on the MCAs, the formula. Now, what does your instinct tell you should do with this? Distribute. My instinct says, hey, I need to distribute. So then that would turn this into y minus 5 equals 3x minus 12. This is really plus a negative 12. Now, is y alone? Y is hanging out with this negative 5. Y is the minus 5 is there, so I need to get rid of that. Oh, it's all coming together. Y equals 3x. Negative 12 plus 5 is a negative 7. Okay? Which would be MCA style, y equals 3x minus 7. What that means is I can graph it like this now. I could have my y-intercept at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, at negative 7, and then I go up 3, 1, 2, 3, over 1, up 3, over 1, and graph my equation. Graph my line. So notice what I did. I plugged it in the point slope first. Plugged it in a point slope. Then I got y alone. All this math is getting y alone. That's all it is. Get y alone. Let's try again. I'm given a point. I'm given a slope. I'm going to get it in a point slope form. That means y minus the y I'm given is equal to my slope times x minus the x I'm given. So, I can get rid of the minus 0 part. Y equals, now I'm going to distribute. I'm just leaving this minus a negative now because I got a negative on the outside. I know I'm going to be dealing with negative signs galore. Negative 4 times x is a negative 4x minus negative 4 times negative 3 is what? 12. Oh, it turned pretty. It turned pretty. It's okay. I don't have to do anything. Now I'm in slope-intercept form. Now I could graph a line if I chose to. My y-intercept would be at negative 12. Pretend that's negative 12. My slope, negative 4. Down 4, over 1, or up 4, other way 1. You always want to relate it to graphing a line. Okay? It's kind of easier to go, if you're not good at pulling out the points from point slope, it's an easy transition to get to slope-intercept. You just distribute and get y alone. Okay, next one. Y minus the y I'm given is equal to my slope times x minus the x I'm given. Oh my gosh, there's so many negative signs. So I'm just going to change it up a little bit. All right, I feel better. I just simplify those negatives. Distribute. Y plus 3 equals negative x plus a negative 2. Minus 3. Minus 3. Minusing is really plusing another negative, so I'm going more negative. Y equals negative x, which is negative 1x. So my slope is minus 1 over 1, negative 1 over 1, plus a negative 5. MCA would never have it like that. It would be y equals negative x minus 5. Y-intercept of this line is